future, shattered dreams, end of times ain't what it seems.
Hello friends, this is Sam Chaney reporting for Weaponized News. Today's December 12th, 2025. Thank you for joining us on this Friday edition of Weaponized News. A lot to get to as always. We had a Friday data dump. Looks cherry-picked, redacted, so on, of Epstein photos now. And so the slow drip here continues. We'll go over that. The White House is celebrating 1980, the Miracle on Ice. Bunch of new laws were signed by Trump today. We'll go over those, in large part nullifying Biden administration era BLM regulations, not Black Lives Matter, Bureau of Land Management. It's very boring, but this is a very important stuff actually, because a lot of this stuff ties right into Agenda 21, Agenda 2030 with the Bureau of Land Management. And they make it boring and nobody even wants to read it or care about it. It's very important. Anyhow, we'll go over that. And they make it all boring on purpose, so you won't look at it. You know what I mean? A lot, like the most action out of the government, I don't know, for the whole year, I don't know, maybe. A lot of lawsuits flying every which way. We're going to cover that. The Treasury is no longer going to be minting pennies, has launched the semi-quintennial coins and metals. We'll take a look at that. They're floating this Trump coin idea again. I believe we reported on it when it was originally. We're in this rerun loop, it seems. Bad reruns. I report on the news every day. I see this stuff, right? And I'm like, hey, I remember when we reported back when that first came out, but we're in the loop and we see this over and over again, reruns of stories. So we'll cover that, the Trump coin. And then we're going to circle back a la Raggedy Ann next week to take a deep dive into this, but just announced a few hours before we came on air here. First National Digital Currency Bank, Ripple National Trust Bank, BitGo Bank, Fidelity Digital Assets Bank, or NA. And so a bunch of these, bunch of new banks essentially were announced today. So we'll cover that a little. We're going to circle back and do a deep dive into that, as it seems very significant. More fraud out of Minnesota to cover. We got World Wrestling, Linda McMahon, head of Federal Department of Education. We were promised a year ago it would be abolished, yet it stands. Putting out a video, How the Grinch Nearly Stole Christmas, Student Aid Edition. Then we'll go over the Epstein photos released, for whatever that's worth. And we have Dr. Oz. Dr. Oz, head of CMS, saying they have weaponized fraud and corruption, and still no one gets in trouble, or very few, the select few. The select few. Well, I blame illegal aliens and Somalis, right? You know what I mean? It's like, that's the level of ridiculousness we're at here now, when the entire system is weaponized fraud and corruption, you see. But we never quite make it that far because it's too much fun to blame the other. We have public health news today. Maybe I'll just report on this every day until they ban me again. Let's just put this on the screen. I can't even express in words how angry this makes me, because my whole show will just be screaming. And so maybe we'll just report on this every day till I die now. Again, me, Sam Chaney, Weaponized News, we told you this 5 years ago. And now it's recognized in the official mainstream UK Telegraph. It makes me so angry, I can't even put my thoughts into words. I just want to scream. And no one's been held accountable. No one ever will be held accountable, you see? Or maybe somehow, some way, we'll get some patsy that they're going to throw under the bus and blame on them. Yeah, they're rolling. We're going to take a deep dive today. We circle back all our Raggedy Ann on Trump's executive order he issued yesterday on essentially centralizing and streamlining federal AI regulations, challenging states essentially. And so, of course, that's going to bring about big lawsuits. But we're going to circle back and take a deeper dive into that as Europol has launched. Well, they put out a document here now, Europol, the unmanned futures, the impact of robotics and unmanned systems on law enforcement. We're going to take a look at that, tie it right back into technocracy, because that's what all this is about. And what else do we got today? We're still waiting for someone of any significance in the government to ever get in trouble for anything. And it seems we'll be that meme of the skeleton at the keyboard waiting. And I'm not holding my breath. We got geopolitical news. And of course, the genocide there in Gaza continues. It's quite horrific. I was debating sometime we're going to show this again. The other Aardvark land, the whole Zionist conspiracy documentary made in 1987 by Ted Pike. I do believe we played it once before, but we shall play it again here now. I don't know if today, probably not today, but it's on my desk here to play again, because someday, somehow, some way, we're going to wake up these Christians. I have my doubts. I'm praying to God, but we'll see if we can get some supernatural intervention in here to wake up these Christians and remove the scales from their eyes to see reality here now. And with that, let's get to... Oh, before we start the broadcast, I did listen to your full message to me, your video message. I appreciate that, Mac, out there. And I do feel for your abuse that you suffered under the system, as all of us have at different levels. Seems like what you described in your message was extremely horrific, and my heart does go out to you. And that's why we do this show, is to expose the system. And maybe somehow, some way, by the grace of God, people will wake up. But it's slim pickings here now in the wake up people game. So if you don't know by now, odds are you're probably never going to know, or even have the spark of intellectual curiosity in your mind to even want to go look. Right? So waking up, people, in 2025, we're almost in 2026, is a dead business at this point, I would say. It always has been a dead business, honestly. But I did my part, 15 years ago, and woke up my immediate friends, family, neighbors, and acquaintances, those who were in my circle of influence. And I would suggest everybody else still try to do the same. But man, it's getting, we can see the effects of social engineering and trauma-based mind control implemented by the system on the population. And it's not pretty. It's not pretty. And also, Barry, I did receive your email. I don't know what else to do, but root for you up there in your battles with the corruption in Canada. And so shout out to Barry and Mac. Appreciate your guys' messages. I'm listening, and we're doing all we can here now to get people to simply not comply, or we could actually read the Declaration of Independence and implement those remedies to government tyranny. I'm just saying that's out there. It's out there. You know what I mean? That is America, the Declaration of Independence. On this day in history, go all the way back to the year 1098. We saw the first Crusaders capture and plunder Syria on this day, 1098. 1478, and I did not, pardon my butchering of this pronunciation, I did not practice the pronunciation. Apologies, I did not have time before the show. But in the year 1479, and this is all mainstream history, so everybody can go debunk it, you know what I mean? 1479, aardvarks are expelled from Châtelet Stant Alsace, and I know I butchered it, by Emperor Frederick III. And so these places don't even exist anymore anyway. But they were noticing all the way back then. And then we fast forward to a major mistake, or was it, by the Catholic Church. In the year 1524, Pope Clement the Seventh approves organization of Aardvark Community of Rome. And was that a major mistake or all part of the agenda? I'll leave it up to you to decide. In 1791, on this day, Bank of North America opens at Carpenter's Hall, Philadelphia. 1901, on this day, Marconi receives the first wireless signal, the Morse code letter S, from England at a receiver station on Signal Hill in Newfoundland. First Marconi transmission. In 1914, on this day, the largest one-day percentage drop in the history of the Dow Jones Industrial Average. So the stock market crashed by a percentage of 24.39%. So you could almost 25% crash there, a quarter, in 1914 on this day. In 1936, on this day, the Chinese declare war on Japan. 1937, on this day, NBC and RCA send the first mobile TV vans onto the streets of New York. That was a long friggin' time ago, 1937, and they were doing that. 1946, on this day, John D. Rockefeller Jr. donates 6 Manhattan blocks as a gift to the United Nations. In 1961, on this day, Alfred, I don't even know, Inchman, 1961, Nazi army officer, was found guilty of war crimes in Aardvark land on this day. 1963, Frank Sinatra Jr. was returned by kidnappers after his father paid $240,000 ransom for his return. In 1982, on this day, $9,800,000 in cash was stolen from a money transport car in New York City. That's quite a bit. That's still a lot of money today, but back then, 1982, almost $10 million in cash. Quite a score there, I would say. In 1988, on this day, Rain Man premiered in New York, the Hollywood film starring Tom Cruise and Dustin Hoffman. And I would argue it was soft pedaling the idea of introducing autism mainstream because they knew damn well what their miracles were doing. In the year 2000, on this day, the U.S. Supreme Court issues its 5-4 decision in Bush versus Gore, resolving the recount dispute in Florida's 2000 presidential election in George W. Bush's favor and effectively awarding him the presidency over Al Gore. Was there any difference? Probably not much. Probably not much. In 2018, the National Enquirer admits paying hush money to quiet mistresses of President Donald Trump. In 2023, on this day, show you what worth the UN's worth. So 2 years ago, 2023, UN General Assembly votes overwhelmingly to demand a humanitarian ceasefire in Gaza. Amid reports, 18,000 Palestinians have been killed, 70% of which are children and women, with over 80% now homeless. That was 2 years ago on this day. And what happens? U.S. just vetoes it. So it shows you what all the UN there is worth, as they're still trying to cobble together something. I don't know. We're still following the one world government agenda 2030, according to everybody except for America. America's still back there behind the scenes trying to act like, oh, we're a sovereign nation. I believe this is all just theater to pacify the American mind. And on this day in our civil liberties history, do we have a couple? Got a couple different ones, and were any of them even worth reporting? Nah, not really. So we'll pass on this day. In our civil liberties history, yeah. Okay, here's propaganda from the White House. Step inside the White House this Christmas. Class is back. Huh? Trump is class? Paying off the National, or having the National Enquirer pay off his mistresses to shut their mouths? Speaks class to me, MAGA. There you go. So there you go. Very good use of our tax money at the White House. What do they say in the chats over there on the X? 2 Scientologists starred in that movie, Rain Man. Indeed. Indeed. All right. What do we got here? Trump honored. The whole MAGA thing is right. We crave for nostalgia, and they know that. That's human nature. And somehow we're going to go back to 1950s America. That's not happening. But we yearn for the nostalgia, and the social engineers that are writing the script of this propaganda program, known as our, quote, reality, they know exactly what they're doing, as we continue to report here, because they're master psychologists. And so they know what the people want. And they gave us something today, if we're to believe any of this, which I don't. But MAGA eats it up, and that's exactly, it's red meat for the base of Trump. You see, the 1980 Miracle on Ice, what a moment. Now I got a question. See, I used to think, oh, they're amateur athletes back in 1980, and this was a true victory by American amateur hockey players against the great Soviet Union. Where they were born, they had us believing that the Soviet Union trained super hockey players from birth, like that ridiculousness. And that's literally all their entire life is to compete in the Olympics. You know what I mean? Super athletes bred through some type of USSR eugenics breeding program. And that may very well have happened here now. But now I'm looking back on this and going, I think everything's rigged at this point. And I believe this was rigged as well. I don't know. Maybe it was a legitimate win here now. But the miracle on ice, right? These amateur American hockey players against the great USSR that has super soldier bred hockey players, right? And somehow America won in 1980. Today, President Trump signs the Miracle on Ice Congressional Gold Medal Act into law, which awards congressional gold medals to members of the 1980 U.S. Olympic men's ice hockey team. Can anything be pure? I don't know. Was this even a real victory? Is it all rigged? I don't know. But the older I get and the more research and reporting I do, sad to say, the more cynical I get and skeptical about our history and these iconic moments and the social engineering agenda behind it all. Here is the 1980 Miracle on Ice. There you go. USA, USA, USA. Great patriotic moment. We beat the damn dirty Reds, the damn dirty Russian communists. But was it all fake? You know what I'm saying? Was it all fake? Okay, a bunch of laws were signed today by Trump. Trump signs 5 bills to overturn Biden-era anti-energy federal regulations that locked up millions of acres of land and closed the door on jobs and energy production. Let's take a look at those. And this is not Black Lives Matter. This is Bureau of Land Management, so don't get all racist on me. Whole different deal. Okay, here's the laws now. HJ Resolution 10-4, which nullifies a Bureau of Land Management relating to Miles City Field Office record of decision and approved resource management plan amendment. So they make this as boring as possible, where people, my eyes glaze over. I don't want to read this stuff, report it, but I do believe it's extremely important. And I do believe they frame it this way to bore you to death so you don't even look at it. Next one, HJ Resolution 105, which nullifies a BLM rule relating to North Dakota Field Office record of decision and approved resources management plan. HJ Resolution 106, which nullifies BLM related to Central Yukon record of decision and approved resources management plan. HR Resolution 130, which nullifies BLM rule relating to Buffalo Field Office, same wording. And then rolling back the regulations, HJ Resolution 131 nullifies BLM rule relating to Coastal Plain oil and gas leasing program. So a lot of boring sounding stuff there, but I do believe it is pretty important to roll back these regulations. But hey, the devil is always in the details, and that's what they pumped. He signed five of these into law today. So we'll see how this sorts out. Republican-led House votes to overturn Trump executive order on bargaining rights. The rare bipartisan vote, 231 to 195, marks the first time the House has voted to overturn an executive order from President Trump this term. 20 Republicans voted with Democrats in supporting the bill, which was introduced by blah, blah, who gives a rip. In solidarity this is solidarity in action. I'm proud of the bipartisan coalition who passed the bill. I guess we should mention, pardon me, it was introduced by Jared Golden, a congressman there out of Maine, and a Democrat, Brian Fitzpatrick, out of Pennsylvania. And so anytime the Golden is a Democrat and Fitzpatrick is a Republican. Sometimes they write this stuff is just wacky. Anyhow, it may all just be AI. We may all just be a simulation right now, right? That's what they say. Continuing here. So yeah, anytime they have bipartisan support, watch out and hold on to your wallet, because it means they're working overtime, if the lazy Congress knew such a thing, to steal as much as they possibly can for you, all for your own good and well-being, you see. What else about this? So Trump's executive order that has been revoked now by the Congress, it was terminating collective bargaining with federal agencies tied to national security, citing authority under the Civil Service Reform Act of 1978. And so Congress did not agree with this and revoked Trump's executive order here now, allowing for federal workers to participate in collective bargaining. And back to the whole thing, why do federal employees even need to be in a union? I don't know. It's a dangerous job, apparently, to pump out bureaucratic BS. House votes to nullify Trump order and restore bargaining rights for federal workers. National Trust sues to stop Trump's ballroom construction. And so, yeah, there's a lot of lawsuits. And of course, a large part of it is making lawyers rich with our tax money. The lawsuit from the nonprofit National Trust for Historic Preservation, which was filed today in U.S. District Court of D.C., represents the first major legal challenge to Trump's planned 90,000 square foot addition and is poised to test the limits of his power. The organization argues that the administration failed to undergo legally required reviews or receive congressional authorization for the project, which Trump has rushed to launch in hopes of completing it before his term ends in 2029. No president is legally allowed to tear down portions of the White House without any review whatsoever, the complaint said. And we got bigger problems than this. I'm sure there's homeless veterans still laying on the street or worrying about tearing down and rebuilding Trump's ballroom. The Senate rejects extension of healthcare subsidies as costs are set to raise for millions. My advice is stay as far as you can physically stay away from this Rockefeller medicine system. I understand some people with chronic disease have no other choice, but yeah, it's a frigging disaster. even way before the bat times came into being. It was a disaster. Yesterday, the Senate rejected legislation to extend Affordable Care Act tax credits, essentially guaranteeing that millions of Americans will see a steep rise in costs at the beginning of the year. All planned, of course, all part of the larger racketeering operation that's known as American Public Health. And so we do appreciate the Senate helping F it over everybody even a little bit more, led by Republicans. California and other states are suing the Trump administration over Trump's $100,000 fee on new H-1B visas, according to a report out of Reuters. And so all this stuff is going to be challenged in the court, obviously. Trump administration's new debanking report, I think we'll circle back and include this on Monday. But his new banking report, designed to guarantee fair banking for all Americans, indicates porn companies were inappropriately discriminated against. And so we do need our pornography companies, adult entertainment companies, to be treated equally as everyone else, as their smut corrupts the minds of America's youth. Okay, continuing here. On to the economy. Well, looks like we're done minting pennies, but we're still minting nickels, dimes, and quarters, half dollars, and dollars. Here's a look at the semi-quincentennial coin. That's a mouthful. The 250th anniversary of America, right? And so here's a couple images of these new coins being proposed to be issued next year. Right here's a nice little one. I don't know about the Doge cap there. I'm sure Peter Duke would appreciate this and give us a big breakdown of it. But there it is, alleged Lady Liberty, 1776 to 2026, with the Doge cap there. And so to celebrate America's semi-Q in 2000, you like their language, semi-Q? Because that is quite a mouthful, right? Semi-quincentennial. To celebrate America's semi-Q in 2026, the Mint will update well-known American coinage such as the circulating dime, nickel, and quarter, as well as a collectible penny. Oh, we get a penny back. Isn't that good of them? And half dollar. Other popular Mint productions will feature special privy marks, dual dates, and designate and design changes as well. So here's one of them. Here's another one, a grouping of different. This is one. You got to take two and put them together. They're getting sophisticated in their propaganda here on the coins. And again, they put "In God We Trust." And I ask, which God are you referring to? Evil government. I don't think it's Jesus of Nazareth, God, that the majority think they're referring to here now. And then the old Trump coin, I remember reporting on the time months ago, but now it's rerunning here now in our 24-hour news cycle. Here it is again. Truly disgusting in my opinion, but I'm sure we'll probably get it. Liberty, 1776 to 2026. 3 different proposals for the front of a dollar coin planned for next year, featuring President Trump. Which one do you guys like better? I don't know. Probably the mugshot looking one, huh? Because he is a criminal. But honestly, in all honesty, I would have to say this one, the side profile look. In God we trust, and of course his God is Satan, and so, or himself. God is himself, because that is Satanism, worshiping of thyself, essentially, here now. And so the side profile, it should say in Trump we trust, actually, if we're being completely honest. Okay, this report, again, came out a little bit before we came on air. I saw it. So we're going to circle back, include this on Monday's show. So the comptroller here, U.S. comptroller, 32nd, wish he was 33rd, but 32nd, he still needs one more degree here now, right? The comptroller of currency here, Jonathan, that's the guy's full name, Jonathan Gould, of course. They made this announcement. I do believe is significant today. First National Digital Currency Bank, Ripple National Trust Bank, BitGo Bank and Trust, Fidelity Digital Assets, Paxos Trust Company. Today's announcement reaffirms the OCC's role in fostering innovation in the banking system without compromising safety and soundness. These institutions would join the 60 other national trust banks supervised by the OCC. We're so back, really. More fraud? I don't think it ever left, but what the hell? Let's celebrate more fraud. The White House is claiming this is actual journalism from ZBS News, so that makes me skeptical. But let's see this report about massive Somali fraud there in Minnesota. And side note, there's massive fraud going on by the U.S. military in actual Somalia, not Minnesota, but Somalia, bombing that country over 110 times. U.S. Marine boots on the ground to go kill cavemen. Reports of U.S.-backed militias in Somalia and official whatever government they have, which Trump says is nothing. It's just a country that the population runs around killing each other. But besides all that, U.S.-backed forces that are in Somalia have been reported to have slaughtered a bunch of civilians as well. But back to Minnesota, Somalia here, in ZBS News report about all the fraud going on. And we're still waiting for somebody somewhere to get in trouble. Let's just blame it all on illegals. Well, it took citizens to implement all of this, you see.
A honeymoon in the Maldives, a fleet of luxury cars. Here's a box with more than $270,000 in cash. This was all evidence from a new trove of files obtained exclusively by CBS News, showing how a group of convicted Minnesota fraudsters spent taxpayer dollars. One text message reads, "You are going to be the richest 25-year-old.
We're not even at the end of the beginning of our pursuit of the stolen money and of the people who stole it.
U.S. Attorney Daniel Rosen leads the office digging into the wave of COVID-era fraud that hit Minnesota.
So how much money are we talking about stolen from the American taxpayer?
I can say with great comfort, well in excess of $1 billion.
In the past 3 years, 87 defendants have been charged, 61 convicted. The majority of them are Somali American. Minnesota has the nation's largest Somali population. The perpetrators are accused of ripping off state-run programs intended to feed low-income kids, house the disabled, and provide services to autistic children.
This was a get-rich scheme.
Andy Luger was the U.S. attorney who first examined this fraud. He left in January.
One of the things we discovered is that a number of the people involved were buying investment property, resort property in Kenya.
Wire transfers reviewed by CBS News also show more than $1 million went to Chinese banks. The Trump administration has said it's investigating whether any of the money fell into the hands of terror groups like Al-Shabaab in Somalia.
Kenya, you say? Well, we all know Barry Soetoro, Barack Hussein Obama is from Kenya, Hawaii, that is. Okay. So, yeah, why does no one, I guess they got the Somalis apparently, but somebody in the government had to know that this is going on. Here's the very mature behavior by the White House. this post, you could see they, of course, blurred it out like all the Epstein stuff to show us this, to highlight this is what is important. The seriously retarded governor of Minnesota, Tim Walz, does nothing, either through fear, incompetence, or both. How about he's in on the scam, and he's not incompetent at all, and he's in on the scam? Okay, here's your World Wrestling Secretary of Federal Education. How the Grinch Nearly Stole Christmas, Student Aid Edition. What do they say? Merry Christmas, taxpayers. Like literally throwing it in our face. Here it is from the Federal Department of Education.
You know the story of a green little thief who tiptoed through Whoville and caused holiday grief? Well, this year a new crew tried a similar feat, sneaking and scheming to swipe student aid neat. They slithered through paperwork, schemed with delight, adding fake students deep into the night. They dreamed of a sack stuffed to the brim with billions of dollars. Prospects were grim. But we weren't sleeping, not even a wink. We checked the numbers, the forms, and blink. We spotted the fakes, the tricks, the sly little plots, and followed the trail to connect all the dots. So instead of $1 billion up the chimney to go, the whole scheme collapsed like a roast cooked too slow. Taxpayers rejoiced. Students got their aid, and fraudsters, their hearts didn't grow 3 sizes. They just got caught in their disguises.
What is that? That's the Department of Education trying to make light of student aid fraud because they're all actors. Okay, I saw some comments talking about the Freemasons. Well, here's a lead in to this next section. This post is from a podcaster, Emma Catherine. She does interviews of victims of satanic ritual abuse and secret society ritual abuse. Let me read you this post as we get into the Epstein photos. Here now, the trauma-based mind control that is in large part behind all of this. So Emma Catherine said in this post, she says, one form of abuse that isn't talked about nearly enough is something I've referred to for years as Masonic ritual abuse, MRA. MRA is what I've come to characterize as ritualized and often satanic occult themed abuse done on victims by Freemasons and other branches of secret societies, often within the confines of Masonic lodges and often with multiple perpetrators of the same lodge. Many of the ritual abuse survivors I interviewed on my podcast disclose having multiple generational Freemasonry run in their families and the cults they belong to. Most of the time, the alleged abusers are grandfathers and or father figures who are generationally initiated into Freemasonry. Many of these Masons are also prominent figures of society in their careers outside of Masonry, military, law enforcement, judiciary, and or other government officials. Another trend are these Masons being pastors, quote, Christians, and or church leaders simultaneously. Just like in Masonry, their lives are ironically a duality of sorts. And I saw that mentioned as well. We might as well make the White House black. There you go. There you go. Continuing here, the rituals characterized by survivors of Masonic ritual abuse are incredibly similar to rituals discovered by survivors of satanic ritual abuse, with differentiating factors being the location of abuse, often inside or underground a Masonic lodge, rituals done by groups of men only, and rituals themselves having the same themes and symbology of the different degrees of Freemasonry: checkered boards, white and black coloring, white pillars, scripts, productions, plays being incorporated and acted out by group members. It is also consistent and worth noting with survivor testimony and disclosure that at the third degree of Freemasonry, there is an infamous initiation ritual that involves child sacrifice and child rape, sodomy. Many of these Masons who initiate into the third degree also go on to be initiated into the Shriners, Templars, and other secret societies. These are the same lodges in your communities. What survivor disclosures and allegations may reveal is a harrowing problem at the top levels. Degrees of Freemasonry and other secret societies lie organized pedophile cults. And then here's the graphic that she put up along with that post. Almost like it's all a giant trauma-based mind control program. And then on to the Epstein photos released today. House Democrats have released over a dozen new photographs of billionaire Jeffrey Epstein parading around with the likes of presidents Donald Trump and Bill Clinton, the world's greatest philanthropist, Bill Gates, our former doctor, and others. Let's take a look at some of these. Let's take a look at some of these photos. We'll start with this one. Start with this one. Here's Epstein, Trump, with this model here, Ingrid Say, I can't pronounce it. She's Belgium. Well, here's the Epstein files, essentially, right? Everyone redacted. Oh, Trump put his hand around her, right? Hashtag me too. Bill Clinton, it all depends on what your definition of is, if he was ever involved in any abuse of anyone. Is, right? Right. Here's singer Jimmy Buffett, his wife, of course, Bill Clinton, Ghislaine Maxwell, and Epstein. Of course, being photographed with someone doesn't prove anything. Here's old Bill Gates, our former doctor, and the former prince there, Andrew. This one gets me. Do we have a bigger one? Here's another blacked out blonde. And then they get into the weird, kinky sex stuff. Of course, we know they're complete freaks. And then this one, of course, the famous TSA glove, checking for terrorists at the airport. Honestly, I don't even know what, I guess this is a thing. I don't know. Ruckus was saying something. Maybe he was joking. But anyway, this is the glove the TSA wears when they check for terrorism at the airport. They're up your rectum. Just kidding, just kidding. But maybe not too far from the truth. But illustrating the freak shows that these people are. Of course, Woody Allen. I always thought Woody Allen was a freak show before any of this Epstein or any of this stuff came out, right? But coincidentally enough, they have those ties of aardvarkism in the background, just saying. And then the right-wing populist leader here, Steve Bannon, affectionately known by Trump as Sloppy Steve, hanging out with Epstein. Well, as has been reported in the past, old Sloppy Steve Bannon here, fake right-wing populist, he's and then they're saying this is like some a passed out victim. Epstein saw it fit to put that picture on his desk of a passed out victim of his. Anyhow, yeah, old Sloppy Steve has a bunch of, he interviewed Epstein for like over 15 hours, and he has not released any of that. So old Sloppy Steve here is very suspect now. Sad to disappoint all you right-wing populists. And there's Sloppy Steve with old Woody Allen. And so a whole crew of perverted sick freaks that are into eugenics and trauma-based mind control. Isn't it all wonderful? Here's billionaire Richard Branson, along with Segway inventor Dean Kamen with Epstein there. And again, it doesn't prove anything being in the photos with Epstein. It just makes you extremely highly suspect. And I would say, especially images like this is not some party here right now. They're like, yeah, all buddies hanging out laughing there. Yeah, they knew nothing though. This one's kind of disturbing as well. Trump condom, $4.50. I'm huge. And of course, Dershowitz never did anything wrong, right? He only got down to his underwear for massages, right? He's famously said. And so, of course, Dershowitz, this piece of trash lawyer, has never done anything wrong except for defend genocide there out of Aardvark land. But besides that, he's a great upstanding citizen. And of course, our former doctor, sadly, we had to let him go due to his affairs. But yeah, there's old Bill Gates, poses in front of a private jet alongside unidentified pilot. And of course, Sloppy Steve with old Epstein there, your great right-wing populist leader, Sloppy Steve Bannon, who's a giant con artist. And what else? This kind of disturbing as well. The jawbreaker gag, right? And it's like this, you know, the ball and gag, right? And so there's old Larry Summers, former Treasury Secretary, with Woody Allen. And so, yeah, they're all good buddies, hanging out. They're the good guys. Okay, so Epstein's files, what is being released? Well, it's going to be a slow drip here now, it feels like. And it feels like those were cherry-picked by Democrats. But, hey, I guess they covered their butt because, hey, we put out the photos of Bill Clinton. He's a Democrat president for 2 terms, right? So I guess that covers their butt a little bit to say you can't just say, oh, you cherry-picked to frame up Trump. So today, the House Democrats Oversight Committee released 19 photos from Jeffrey Epstein's estate, selected from approximately 95,000 images provided to Congress. So what, every week, every day, they're going to send out 19 photos? You know what I mean? It's like, just give it all, man. Give it all. But everything has to be redacted. We have to care because they care, right? They care about the victims. They care so much that no one else is hurt. The photos released today show Epstein in social settings with prominent figures, including President Trump, former President Bill Clinton, Bill Gates, Larry Summers, Woody Allen, Steve Bannon. But they do not, by themselves, allege criminal conduct. And that's true. That's true. I'm a big believer due process, but it does at least call into question, why are you in any proximity whatsoever to even be photographed with Jeffrey Epstein? If you, I had no idea what was going on. I thought we were helping the children. You know what I mean? What else? Let's see. The Epstein Files Transparency Act was signed into law on November 19th. It requires the Justice Department to release Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell related records within 30 days. So what? They're sure running out the clock on this one. So the deadline would be, December 19th here now. So what day is that? Let's see. December 19th is going to be next Friday. Next Friday. So expect a big Epstein document dump next Friday as everyone is getting ready for Christmas. And so it will be that's how they do it. Friday data dumps when everybody is, concerned with their own life and families and whatnot. So expect that next Friday. It appears here now, sometime next week, as the deadline is looming for the full release according to the Epstein Files Transparency Act. We shall see, and see how much of it is actually just totally redacted. Why don't they just give us a white paper and a black paper and say, here it is. We're all Freemasons, and literally laugh in everybody's face. I think that would be quite a Christmas gift, actually. Anyhow, continuing here, what else did we get out of that dump? There's pictures of Epstein in the bathtub, some weird up-close selfie of him, this goofy one. Trumpkin, make Halloween great again. What else did we get out of it? Here's the weird temple where it looks like they're doing some type of construction. Remember the little weird temple? Remember Ellen DeGenerate had a talk show, and her background was exactly like the Epstein temple. Just all extremely bizarre. This is the trauma-based mind control, one of, I'm assuming, many places where they would do these Masonic rituals, or just call it dark occultic rituals. So, yeah, and the old nitrous oxide right there, the masks, very creepy, very, very creepy indeed. What else? Did we get anything else out of this? Not really. Not really. They're trying to figure out who are those in the blacked out images over their face. The females there. I think that's about it from the dump today. Again, look for, well, anytime from now until next Friday, but I would assume they're going to go ahead and do it on Friday at the deadline. Again, when everybody's doing whatever else, not paying attention to the news, for sure, here now. But expect it to be much like this, all blacked out, you see. And that's about it. I believe that's all of the photos. I would say the most disturbing is actually old Steve Bannon. We knew that he had this relationship with Epstein and did these interviews that he's sitting on, but he's just hanging out with good buddies laughing. And there's an abuse victim, alleged abuse victim, sitting there on Epstein's desk. Did that concern Bannon at all? Apparently not. Apparently not. So think twice before you're buying into this right-wing populist message, because it all sounds well and good on the surface. And who's American that doesn't want to put America first? But they've twisted and perverted everything to the point where I do believe that was the intention the entire time, is to run this giant psyop to discredit true American populism. And it seems to be working out very well, as we are not populously united. We're extremely divided, as is the point here now of all of this, isn't it? Balkanization, divide and conquer. The Anglo-American establishment knows what they are doing here now, and they've been doing it to build empire around the world for centuries, you see? And so nothing is new under the sun here now, is it? Trump says no big deal after Jeffrey Epstein photos were released today. So no big deal to Trump. Well, it shouldn't be, because it's all a Democrat hoax and none of this even exists, right? Right. Okay. And so all of that leading up to Dr. Oz here now. They have weaponized fraud and corruption. Well, tell us some more about this weaponization. Dr. Oz, TV doctor, they're all actors, but hey, they care about our health.
They've weaponized fraud and corruption. Talking with the CMS team that I'm blessed to work with, they say they've never seen anything like this as an abject dereliction of duty. And I think what happened, just becoming clearer now, is that the Walz administration knew there was a problem. Whistleblowers were saying, this money's being stolen. You gave a great number with autism. I can regale you with a bunch more. But nobody wanted to rock the boat, because it turns out Somalians overwhelmingly vote for Democrats. They felt it would look bad for them to go after this these people that they knew were guilty. And it was the Somalian community, in fact, that it finally came forward and said enough is enough. And we see people buying luxury cars, shipping money back to our home country, maybe even to terrorist organizations. And it was with that urging we finally found out what was happening. But here's the deal. President Trump's not going to tolerate this. Understandably, no American should want their tax dollars being siphoned off to Somalians living in Minnesota, who then ship it over to Africa or other places where it can be used for.
That's right. I want my tax money used to steal Venezuelan oil, right? Yeah. And blow up Palestinians. That's what I want my tax money used for. But there you have it. Weaponized fraud and corruption. Let's take a hard commercial break. We'll have more on public health when we come back from the commercial break. We're really not going anywhere. I'm just doing a live commercial break here for you now. Thank you for joining us on this Friday edition of Weaponized News. Go to weaponizednews.com. Get yourself some stickers over there. We have the holograph sticker, the white background sticker, the clear sticker, weaponizednews.com. I appreciate all of the subscribers, the patrons to the Weaponized News store. And let's show the offering here now for this Christmas. And hopefully they can get this one going. But I did create a new Christmas ornament today to offer up. I can find it here now. Let's get to the store. Apologies, should have this ready for the live commercial break. Here is the new Weaponized News glass Christmas ornament in the spirit of the Christmas season right here. And this is very nice, actually. You can see right there the classic Weaponized News logo on this glass ornament. Let's see if we can, there you go. That's looking pretty slick right there, I would say. So help support us any and every way possible. Support independent reporting and analysis brought to you here by Weaponized News 5 days a week. The description is in, the link is in the description below this video to the store, to our Buy Me a Coffee, to our Cash App, to our Bitcoin wallet address. We appreciate all of the support. And again, thank you for subscribers and patrons to the show. The new offering today, Weaponized News glass Christmas ornament. We have another image. Here's a nice image of it as well. Let me just show you that one more time to give you an idea. And check out all of our other offerings at Weaponized News store. Custom t-shirts, Christmas ornaments, shot glasses, baby gear. There's a bunch of stuff over there. And we appreciate all of the support. And with that, welcome back to the second half of Weaponized News on this Friday, December 12th, 2025 edition. We continue with public health as old Dr. Oz just got done telling us they've weaponized fraud and corruption. Remember this. It ain't nothing new, guys. I'm sorry to tell you. Remember this flashback from the White House. The White House says, for those unmiracled, you're looking at a winter of severe illness and death for yourselves, your family, and the hospitals you may soon overwhelm. And so talk about a fear-mongering campaign. The Biden administration literally threatening Americans with death. Well, it turns out a few years later, UK Telegraph reports the bat miracles can cause heart damage. And why is no one in the Biden administration in trouble for this from the Department of Public Health? Why is no one in trouble? Well, because it's all part of the larger agenda here now. FDA intends to put its most serious warning on bat miracles. And so it's being reported by CNN. The FDA intends to put a, quote, black box warning on the bat miracles. Why is it even on the market at this point? You know what I mean? So we'll see. We'll see if they do put that black, and your doctor that cares about your health will still say take it. You know what I mean? You're like, but it says all this, not take it. You know what I mean? And so that's where we're at. That's where we're at. Very sad state of affairs here. What? You can go to Illinois. We passed this, and I think like they're way behind the times. We passed this a long time ago in California, but now in Illinois, you get down sad, just go there, and because they passed a new MAID program in Illinois, and so now you can sign up for medical aid in dying, and of course, it's all for the people because the government cares about you so much. And make no mistake, this will never be abused. You'll never be put on a list as being mentally ill for being a political dissident, for questioning in your face fat pigs corruption like old Pritzker or Trump. Name a politician. Just say the government. And so this will be abused by the state of Illinois, as the whole time they scream at you, oh, you don't care about people suffering. Government wants you terminated, and they keep proving it more and more every single day here now. Illinois becomes the 12th state to provide medical aid in dying for the terminally ill. And that's how it always starts. Well, you want terminally ill people to lay around and suffer? And then, as I said, it's going to move on to those deemed mentally unfit by the state. And that just simply, you just simply say, hey, politician, you lied. Oh, you're mentally unfit. Time for MAID program. As we see they've done in Canada. They're going to do the same thing here now. The state declares you mentally unfit for a myriad of reasons, and now you're MAID. You see, is exactly how this is going to work. But hey, we don't want terminally ill people to suffer, as if they give a rip. Eli Lilly's next generation obesity drug delivers strong weight loss, reduces knee pain in late stage trial. Eli Lilly, and we know we can always trust we can trust them. We don't even need any oversight. It's basically a gift from God pharmakia if you're God Satan. Eli Lilly said its next generational obesity drug delivered what appears to be the highest weight loss so far in a late stage trial and reduced knee arthritis pain, clearing the first of several upcoming studies on the weekly injection. So you can be a strung out junkie here on a weekly injection from Eli Lilly and not have knee pain and also lose weight. So it's a win-win-win-win. The drug maker is betting big on the treatment Retatride, I believe is how you pronounce that, as the next pillar of its obesity portfolio after its weight loss injection, Zepbound, and its upcoming pill. Dubbed the Triple G drug, it works by mimicking 3 hunger-regulating hormones, GLP-1, GIP, and glucagon, rather than just one or two like existing treatments. So you could screw up your whole system here now with a weekly injection and relieve your arthritis pain. Isn't it so wonderful of news? And if you say anything's wrong with it, they just scream science and, I don't know, you know what I mean, send you to Illinois for some MAID's treatment. The MAHA administration bails out big seed oil. What? We were told that, what? Reported out of Reason magazine, the Trump administration continues a long tradition of subsidizing the things it tells Americans to eat less of. Oh, you don't say. Bobby Kennedy Jr. is no fan of seed oils, which he says contribute to a long list of chronic ailments. You don't want to eat lubricant for motors? But turns out that the government, with its farmer bailout announced earlier this week, is now still continuing to subsidize the seed oil industry. And MAHA tells us a big win. There's a big win for MAHA. Another MAHA win. American restaurants are listening to their customers and making healthy moves. National Restaurant Group ditches seed oils as doctors warn Americans about the hidden dangers. And the federal government, backhandedly, is still subsidizing said seed oils. What do we even say at this point? You know what I mean? Among those eligible for the new bailout will be growers of corn, sunflower, canola, grapeseed, and safflower. What do you even say to this? Oh, it's horrible for you. Here's a bunch of money. You know what I mean? Yeah. Maybe you should take your old weekly injection from Eli Lilly. That could help, I'm sure. Okay, on to Technocracy news. We're running long here. We still got a lot of news to get to. America's most pro-gamer president just came out of the White House. So that is about right. Trump with a blockhead. And what is this about? How video game developers can level up with the R&D tax credit. So they're going to get a big R&D tax credit out there for creating these video games to social engineer the youth of America. Trump signs executive order yesterday ensuring a national policy framework for AI. And let's hear old this character, David Sachs, selling it to us.
Well, there's a lot. There's a big build out going on right now. Hundreds of billions of dollars are going into infrastructure, and it's projected to grow to even potentially $1 trillion a year of capex. And I think the key point here is that this is benefiting the entire economy. I think there's a little bit of a misperception that this AI boom only benefits software developers or software companies in Silicon Valley or so-called tech bros. What we're actually seeing is a huge boom that's benefiting construction workers. The Wall Street Journal had a good story on this just last week, that the wages of construction workers are up 30% because this infrastructure build out. It's data centers, but it's also energy production. It's gas, it's fracking, it's nuclear, all the above, thanks to President Trump's policy, pro-energy policies of drill, baby, drill. So we're seeing this huge infrastructure build out, and it's benefiting people like plumbers, electricians, concrete.
What a bunch of bullshit. Maybe in the initial construction, it benefits those short-term jobs of construction. I'll give them that. But total complete bullshit. Oh, you didn't know it's benefiting you? As they're giving them $1 billion. Here's the Treasury Secretary saying that the U.S. Golden Dome will be useless if China can get around it. Well, I can tell you right now it's going to be useless because it's a giant freaking con job boondoggle by the military-industrial complex and Trump.
But everything else we do, with our defense, there's no use in having a golden dome if China's AI can get around it. There's no use in spending all this money on defense. And the U.S. will remain the leader in this under President Trump's leadership. He is the accelerator of the growth.
These guys are clowns, man. So we're in the cold AI war with China. Now they tell us out the back door we're giving them chips still. You tell me the best enemy money can buy? And this is going to be the excuse. Oh, China's going to get ahead of us, so we have to, bring in technocracy. Here's more. Here's more about it.
Has been arguing for American leadership in AI well before ChatGPT was even invented. The president signed an executive order on artificial intelligence leadership in 2019, which set the stage for the revolution that we're seeing today. In the past year, we've built on that. We signed out the AI action plan in July of this year, which the president launched here in Washington, along with 3 EOs. And I know a lot of that effort is around.
So just remember this, MAGA, that Trump is the godfather of technocracy. Remember that. What do we got here in the intro? Yeah, we still got time. I kind of blasted through those reports. Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz said he was there at this AI executive order signing ceremony yesterday. He said that President Trump took an important step today to promote American leadership in AI. We don't want China's values of surveillance and communist control governing AI. They're like, no, American tyranny is much more innovative than yours, China. Watch and you'll see. Trump orders creation of litigation task force to challenge state AI laws. And so I'm sure as soon as he signed it, California was filing a lawsuit against them. Okay, it gets darker here now. What, you don't care about the children? Really, no. Actually, at this point, no. If we're using the same definition the government does, no. You know what I mean? Because their definition is all a cover to bring in technocracy here now for us. We reported on this when it happened, and they're reiterating it yesterday again. AI.gov/action plan launched by First Lady Melania Trump, the Presidential AI Challenge. America is in a race to achieve global dominance in artificial intelligence. Winning this race will usher in a new era of human flourishing, economic competitiveness, and national security for the American people. Recognizing this, President Trump directed the creation of an AI action plan in the early days of his second administration in office, based on the 3 pillars of accelerating innovation, building AI infrastructure, and leading in international diplomacy and security. This action plan is America's roadmap to win the AI race. Accelerate AI innovation. America must have the most powerful AI system in the world, but We must also lead the world in creative and transformation application of these systems. Ultimately, it is the uses of technology that create economic growth, new jobs, and scientific advancements. America must invent and embrace productivity enhancing AI uses that the world wants to emulate. Achieving this requires the federal government to create the conditions where private sector-led innovation can flourish. Technocracy. Federal government to create the conditions where private sector-led innovations can flourish. The White House AI Action Plan goes on to say, removing red tape and onerous regulations ensure that frontier AI projects free speech and protects free speech and American values. That's laughable. Encouragement, open source, and open weight AI, enable AI adoption, empower American workers in the age of AI, support next generation manufacturing, invest in AI enabled science, build world-class scientific data sets. That's to profile you, which they already have here now, and constantly gathering data on us. The AI knows you better than you know yourself. Advance the science of AI, invest in AI interpretability, control, and robustness breakthroughs, build an AI evaluations ecosystem, accelerate AI adoption in government. They've already done that. Drive adoption of AI within the Department of War. They've already done that. Protect commercial and government AI innovations. Combat synthetic media in the legal system. That was pillar 1. Here's pillar 2. Build American AI infrastructure. AI is the first digital service in modern life that challenges America to build a vastly greater energy generation than we have today. American energy capacity has stagnated since the 1970s, while China has rapidly built out their grid. America's path to AI domination depends on changing this troubling trend that requires streamlining, permitting, strengthening, and growing the electrical grid, and passing off the cost to the consumer. No, I added that part. And creating the workforce to build it all. Creating streamlined permitting for semiconductor manufacturing facilities and energy infrastructure while guaranteeing security. Develop a grid to match the pace of AI innovation. Restore American semiconductor manufacturing. Build high security data centers for military and intelligence community usage. I thought we already had that. The NSA building over there in Utah. Train a skilled workforce for AI infrastructure, bolster critical infrastructure cybersecurity, promote secure by design AI technologies and applications, promote mature federal capacity for AI incident response. And then a third pillar, lead in international AI diplomacy and security. To succeed in the global AI competition, America must do more than promote AI within its own borders. The United States must also drive adoption of American AI systems, computing hardware, and the standard throughout the world. America currently is the global leader on data center construction, computing hardware performance, and models. It is imperative that the United States leverage this advantage into an enduring global alliance while preventing our adversaries from free riding on our innovation and investment. Export American AI to allies and partners. Counter Chinese influence in international governance bodies. Strengthen AI compute export control enforcement. Plug loopholes in existing semiconductor manufacturing export controls. Allow protection measures globally. Align protection measures globally. Ensure that the United States government is at the forefront of evaluating national security risks in frontier models, invest in biosecurity. And we've covered a lot of that in depth, but those are your 3 pillars here now in the AI.gov. Yeah, it's a freaking nightmare. But hey, wait, there's more. There's more, you see. Here's the top 10 provisions from Trump's executive order deregulating AI that he signed yesterday. National AI dominance policy declares U.S. policy as sustaining, quote, global AI dominance via minimally burdensome national framework, explicitly revoking prior paralyzing regulations to flood the system with trillions of unchecked investments. AI litigation task force orders the Attorney General to stand up a dedicated squad within 30 days to sue states over AI laws. And so there's going to be the states and the feds are going to be suing the hell out of each other over all this at taxpayer expense, keeping us safe, of course. State law evaluation mandates that the Commerce Secretary to audit all states' AI regulations within 90 days. Flagging onerous regulations. It weaponizes bias rhetoric, slamming Colorado's anti-discrimination law to preempt protections against corporate AI harms while shielding federal biases from scrutiny. Funding blackmail, bars states with flagged laws from broadband equity access and development funds, and lets agencies tie grants to non-enforcement PACs. Power play starves non-compliant states of infrastructure dollars, coercing alignment with Washington, D.C.'s AI vision. Classic technocratic stick and carrot to homogenize policy from sea to shining sea. The FCC reporting preemption directs the FCC to fast track a federal AI disclosure standard that overrides state rules. FTC, the Federal Trade Commission. Deception Shield tasks the FTC with policy statement preempting state law that alter truthful AI outputs under unfair practices ban. Legislative preemptive push. The White House advisors to the executive order uniform federal AI framework that nukes conflicting state laws, carving out a narrow exemption process. Anti-censorship facade vows to prevent censorship, but they are still censoring. The government's weaponized against us. But now for whoever you want the government to be weaponized against. Patchwork critique. So trying to centralize everything there for us now. Again, we're going to see massive lawsuits. They're already firing them from both sides, the feds and the states here now. Ensuring a national policy framework for artificial intelligence. That was the executive order right here yesterday. Okay, on to EU now. Europol releases 48-page report detailing how AI and robots may brainwash humans, trigger a human-machine war around 2035, and lead to a human uprising with, quote, populist calls to put people first. The unmanned futures, the impact of robotics and unmanned systems on law enforcement. Here is the 48-page report from Europol Innovation Lab. And again, for those interested that want to go read the full report, just search it up, or the link will be at Weaponized News Substack. Okay, let's quickly go through this overview of this 48-page document. The AI robot convergent algorithms as unelected overlords. Interpol heralds the fusion of AI with unmatched aerial vehicles, UAVs, ground robots, and underwater drones as a chat GPT moment for physical machines, enabling swarms that learn, coordinate, and decide autonomously via generative models and platforms like ROS2. This technocratic wet dream sidelines human operators, turning policing into a pre-programmed script where experts in Silicon Valley, not elected officials, dictate, quote, ethical behaviors. The implication and erosion of agency, where citizens become data points in an AI-governed panopticon, much like how big tech's algorithm already manipulates elections. And on it goes. 3D policing. 3D policing. The report envisions 3D policing expanding jurisdictions from the streets and skies, seas, and subterranean spaces via multiple domain drone-equipped weapon systems. This isn't about safety, it's technocratic territorialism where borders dissolve into algorithmic grids monitored by high altitude pseudo satellites. HAPS. Freedoms crumble as the convergence between the digital and physical world blurs. Criminal early adopters. Tech as a great equalizer for outlaws. Interpol admits drones are already weaponized by smugglers, terrorists, and cartels for crime at a distance. Vendor lock-ins. A stark confession from Europol. European law enforcement is shackled to China and American drone giants, facing vendor lock-in. That breeds cybersecurity vulnerabilities and stifles innovation with open source alternatives to, or like ROS2, dismissed as mere band-aids. Counter U.S. gaps, lethal tech masquerading as lawful orders. Europol laments that the mismatch between military-grade counters like radar jammers, nets, and directed energy weapons, and law enforcement's need for non-lethal forensic-friendly tools, leaving cops outgunned by cheap drone swarms. Privacy quietly assassinated. Yeah, they're going to build these giant databases. They already have them, but continually consolidate data. Erosion of privacy from ubiquitous data harvesting, cameras, biometrics, and social robots collecting data without your consent. War spillover. Conflict as a catalyst for domestic domination. Ukraine's AI-enhanced mass-produced drones and Hamas's fiber-glided assaults are flagged as innovation drivers spilling into European crime, accelerating unmanned adoption and blurring the lines between military and civilian applications. Regulatory facade. EU rules as technocrat figs as fig leaves. Gaps in the AI Act, machinery regulation, and drone rules fall far beyond the visual line of regulation. Societal integration. Robots and social engineers, from robot dogs patrolling the streets to AI companions for the elderly. Unmanned systems are pitched as societal staples with trends toward affordability and ubiquity via 3D printing and advanced batteries. And finally, the C3A frameworks, command by code, not consent. The report's climax: adopt command control collaboration autonomy C3A structures for Interpol drone teams with training hubs and standardized procurement to unleash unmanned potential. It's a nightmare in this technocracy that they're building very quickly here now at an accelerated rate. But there's some pushback. Hey, everybody should push back in your local area. It's about the best we can do on these data centers. Arizona City rejects data center after AI lobbying push. Report out of Politico here. Former Senator Sinema's intervention in local rezoning efforts has sparked a fight over local control. No more data centers in Chandler, Arizona. So if they're building one of these data centers, no matter what tax breaks and jobs they promise, he should push back, because this is our time. Once it's already, we're going down the dark path of technocracy here at an accelerated rate. So I would suggest, if at all possible, protest your local data center being built now. Well, we still can. Okay, where are we at here now? I hope all of that made sense. There's a lot of gobbledygook phrases they use too. You have to read, and I'm trying to cover as much of this information as possible. So I hope it made sense to me. It was kind of a little gobbledygooky here now, using all of their technical terms out of Interpol, but I think we tied it together to make somewhat of a coherent narrative there, warning you about technocracy again. Okay, where are we at here now? We got, 23 minutes or something like this left. We still have DHS news to cover. Let's blast through this. Department of Homeland Security put this post out today. Well, let's go to the meme of the day. Well, there's this big controversy. They're saying, well, quote, Democrats are allowing all these illegal aliens to get these driver's license, and turns out they're going around getting a bunch of accidents, killing people. Well, don't be xenophobic and a bigot. Let's see this report from reality TV show star and actor, now Department of Transportation Secretary Duffy on Fox News, about all of this. And again, why does no one in the position of authority in the government ever get in trouble? We're still waiting. We're that skeleton on the keyboard waiting.
So many accidents, we'll just scroll them. And while we're scrolling, I will bring in focus now Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy. This is a lot. How do you stop it?
Harris, you're scrolling these names and numbers, and these are Americans who needlessly died on American roadways because our states aren't doing the right work to make sure we have well-qualified, certified, safe drivers on American roads. We have states that are giving out commercial driver's license.
So the same with all professional licenses here. Now they're all unconstitutional, but while we're going along with this unconstitutional program of professional licensing, someone needs to be held accountable for giving out commercial driver's license to illegal alien truck drivers that are killing people. And yet no one at the state level I've ever seen a report about it is being held accountable for anything. We live in a lawless society here now, where the government, the crime syndicate known as government, is the most lawless of any entity out there. And so demonize the terrorists, demonize the drug cartels. No, it's you, government. You are the criminals. Worse criminals than any of these other groups. By far, by 1,000-fold, infinity worse. Infinity worse is your government. Here's the meme of the day from the Department of Homeland Security. They put out 2 today. Guard the path toward liberty. Join the feds and be a thug and be part of the corruption. Here's another meme of the day by Homeland Security. You be the judge. Join.justice.gov. And it's funny, they barely figured this out, that the entire system, from the border to immigration courts, judges, the whole thing is, they figured it out a year now into Trump's administration. Give me a freaking break, dude. But they're actively recruiting lawyers, judges to try to do something about this failed immigration system in America, where it's 5 some, I think I saw reports where they issue illegal aliens seeking legitimate residency status in America at immigration court. They issue them a notice to appear like 5-10 years later. I think I saw one report, it was like 10 years later. And it's like, wow. Okay, so you're bad for being here illegal, but the illegals want to do the right thing. Apparently, they're showing up to immigration court, some of them, in these reports, and they're like, oh, come back in 10 years. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, the whole system from top to bottom is broken. What do we got? Yeah, a bunch of them coming out of Pritzker's, Illinois. They're giving illegal aliens commercial driver's license and they're killing people. Well, you could just speed it up and sign up for MAIDs, I guess. Damn, man. The Trump administration moves to set up militarized zone on California-Mexico border. It's kind of concerning, you think? So, again, is it to keep the illegals out or to keep us in, or a combination of both is what is sorting out to be here now. The Trump administration announced plans earlier this week on Wednesday to add another militarized zone to the southern border, this time in California, as part of a major shift that has thrust troops into border enforcement with Mexico like never before. The Department of the Interior said it would transfer jurisdiction along most of California's border with Mexico to the Navy to reinforce the historical role public lands have played in safeguarding national sovereignty. The Interior Department described the newest national defense area in California as a high traffic zone for unlawful crossings by illegal aliens. But Border Patrol arrests along the southern U.S. border this year have dropped. We already know that. So the military strategy was pioneered in April along a 170-mile stretch of the southern border there between Mexico and New Mexico, Texas, and Arizona. The newly designated militarized zone extends nearly from the Arizona state line to the Otay Mountain Wilderness, traversing the Imperial Valley and border communities, including the incorporated community of Tecate, California, across the border from the Mexico City with the same name. More than 7,000 troops have been deployed to the border, along with an assortment of helicopters, drones, and other peaceful weapons of war. I added that part if you get the sarcasm. Anyhow, well, we have, again, is it to keep the illegals out or to keep us in, or a combination of both? I believe it is here now. FEMA stands ready to support the communities devastated by historic flooding. There is historic flooding going on here. And so I thought all of their job was just to get illegals, and they failed at that. But no, it turns out actually Ice Barbie Christy Nome, head of FEMA as well. There was sadly some flooding that went on here now, and hope maybe discriminated against them. Say you voted for a Democrat, F you. No, Yeah. But that's what the Biden administration did. They said, you're supporting Trump. F you, disaster, American disaster survivors. You know what I mean? F you. But hey, it's our tax money and it shouldn't be politicized. And they should do what the hell they say they're supposed to be doing with it instead of running a never-ending game on us, as was done during the Biden administration. Sorry to blame them, but they're doing the same thing here. They're discriminating. Everybody has biases. So maybe not as blatant, but make no mistake, they are definitely having a bias in this regard. But they say they're helping the victims of flooding here in America through FEMA. So hopefully, but it seems every one of these programs turns into a giant fraud party. Pay your taxes, though. Okay, where are we at? We got 15 minutes left. What do we got here? Quite a bit still. Let's move on to geopolitical news. U.S. removes sanctions imposed on Brazilian Supreme Court justice. Remember this character? They ran this guy for about a week. Oh, yeah. Well, what the hell, man? I thought we were standing up against this guy for going after Bolsonaro, for elections, for going after Musk and X. Man, well, what the hell? Remove sanctions on him. There now. Canada's Mark Carney names top former BlackRock manager Mark Wiseman as Canada's next ambassador to the United States. And so if you can't trust a Canadian banker, I don't know who you can trust. So does Trump get double credit for stopping the war twice, or no credit because he's full of shit? Oh, it turns out, oh yeah, there is still a big dust up going on there on the Thailand-Cambodian border, which Trump has already claimed victory as one of his 8 wars that he brought about peace to. But turns out there's still dust-ups going on there. Trump says, I had a very good conversation this morning with the Prime Minister of Thailand and the Prime Minister of Cambodia concerning their very unfortunate reawakening of the long-running war. They have agreed to cease all shooting effective this evening. Just like last time, what, a month ago. So maybe that's the plan. Trump is like, I will have caused peace in 20 different wars, but that's the same war. They just stopped shooting and then shot and then stopped. And you said you got peace 20 times out of it, but they're still shooting. Anyway, that's still going on. According to Trump, if we could believe anything that he says, which I don't, that all the shooting will cease. So they shouldn't be shooting each other. If you go look at a report, there's some redneck in Cambodia that's still shooting. You know what I'm saying? From chips to security, China is getting much of what it wants from the United States. We have to prop up that enemy to get in all these Cold Wars to launder $1 billion for your own national security, of course. So Space Command has now officially opened there in Georgia, the official office in Huntsville, Georgia. Here's the little sign that the Department of War unveiled earlier today.
Permanent headquarters here at Redstone Arsenal, Alabama, a federal center of excellence. Now we will start the countdown at 3, and at the 0 mark, unveil the sign. Got it? All right. All together, please. 3, 2, 1. Woo!
Yay, a black hole of fraud. Isn't that wonderful? We love it. What do we got here? Well, they asked him, old Odysee of Fox News asked Trump yesterday, following the seizure of an oil tanker, is the campaign against Venezuela still about drugs, or is it now also about oil? Maybe Fox News Odysee could get a clue. I'm sure he knows. He's not stupid. It's always been about oil and natural resources.
Venezuela, now that we've seized this tanker, is the campaign against Venezuela still just about drugs, or is it now also about oil?
Well, it's about a lot of things, but one of the things it's about is the fact that they've allowed millions of...
It's about a lot of things. They told us we have to do all this illegal form war of aggression against Venezuela because they're killing everybody with all the fentanyl they're trafficking in. That's all bullshit. It's just flat out lies by Trump and the Trump administration and the Department of War. Just flat out lies, easily provable lies. So what's going on with Maduro? What's going on with Maduro now? Maduro said, replying to that oil tanker being pirated by America, he said, yesterday their mask fell. This was not about asylums, gangs, or drugs. It was about oil. A civilian commercial vessel carrying 1.9 million barrels of Venezuelan oil to international markets was attacked, seized, and robbed in international waters near the Caribbean Sea. The crew was kidnapped and remains missing. This act amounts to criminal naval piracy. Venezuela strongly condemns it and will pursue all legal and diplomatic measures to protect its ships and guarantee the free trade of its oil. Good luck with that. Good luck with that, because you got the Department of War on your ass there, Maduro. Venezuela's defense minister, Vladimir Lopez, said the United States must understand that surrender is impossible for us given the history taught by our liberators. Are they going to just lay down? Like what? We're waiting. We're waiting to see what happens as military assets continue to amass in the Caribbean. Combat rescue aircraft tankers arrive in Caribbean as U.S. military buildup accelerates. Yeah, there's a fleet of warships. There's, you name it. There's a lot of military assets sitting right there as we continue to report, just waiting for the order. Waiting for the order. Will we see boots on the ground? I don't know, but they got a hell of a lot of military assets right there ready to strike and intimidating the hell out of Maduro and the rest of his administration there in Venezuela. Here's the map again to remind everybody where we're at with all this. Here's Venezuela. Here's the oil all right here, plus in Venezuela, but also right here. Bunch of oil discovered right here. Anyhow, it's all about keeping us safe from the drugs, as we know. Yeah, U.S. is we got a base here. We got a bunch of military assets, warships all over right here, just waiting, prepping, training in Puerto Rico. So we're waiting. Anytime it may kick off there with strikes. Land strikes on Venezuela. Cuba on the edge as U.S. seizure of oil tanker puts supply at risk. Report out of Reuters. U.S. military members fear personal legal blowback tied to boat strikes. Several U.S. service members, including staff officers and at least one drone pilot, are seeking legal advice from outside groups, fearing that they may face legal consequences for any involvement in Trump administration lethal strikes on, quote, alleged suspected drug boats. Smart, actually, because the government, these guys saw it coming, right? So pretty smart, because they're like, hey, I'm not going to be the patsy on this. As they looking around, Hegseth, Trump, who are we going to throw under the bus for this and take the rap? You know what I mean? So Smart move, because they know what they're doing is illegal, unconstitutional. They know it. They know it. U.S. takeover of Iraq's West Kuran oil field sidelines Russia, reasserts energy dominance. U.S. sanctions and Iraqi compliance cleared the way for ExxonMobil to replace Russia's last major oil foothold in Iraq. It's all about fighting the terrorists. Iran has seized a foreign tanker in the Gulf of Oman for allegedly carrying 6 million liters of smuggled diesel. So now we're going to get this tit for tat, and that's the freaking Pandora's box that you opened, Department of War. Is what's to stop any of these other countries from doing high sea piracy, i.e. Iran here now. But they're terrorists, so they're not allowed to. America's the good guys, we're allowed to. Got it, Jack? Where are we at? 5 minutes? Okay. Wrap up with the Aardvark news. U.S. lawmakers and press groups demand accountability for Aardvark land attack on journalists. Yesterday, the Committee to Protect Journalists and Amnesty International USA joined U.S. Senator Peter Welch and Chris Van Hollen, along with Representative Becca Ballant, at a press conference calling for accountability over Aardvark land's systemic targeting of the press since October 7th, 2023. Yeah, they're all Hamas. But they killed over 250 journalists have been killed by Aardvark land. And the only time it ever got any attention was when it was AP and Reuters reporters. And then they just shrugged. It almost looked like, if I didn't know better, I'd say Reuters set up their own reporters to get whacked by aardvarks. So, yeah. But they're all terrorists. You know what I mean? So, it's all's forgiven. We're going to play this quick clip. Here is former U.S. antiseptic czar Deborah Lipstrand. How do you say her stupid name? Tells the Hudson Institute antisepticism as a national security threat event that the quote losers on the left and losers on the right who think they've lost somehow in this system just blame the aardvarks. Well, they're playing the role here now of pure evil, aren't they? And again, Western intelligence laughing their heads off at all of this.
What we're seeing today is an anti-liberal, traditional liberal, anti-capitalist attack. It is Occupy Wall Street on steroids. You want to explain the losers on the left, the losers, or on the right. If I've lost somehow in this system, blame the Jews. If you were to say blame the left-handed people, we'd say let's get you to a psychiatrist. But if you say blame the Jews, even if you don't think it's right, even if you don't think the person's explanation is correct, you say, you know, I've heard that. That is familiar. So when you ask me what it is, I would say what we're seeing today is different. It's worse. And those of you who know my work, you'll know that years ago, and I took a lot of flack for this, when people in the Jewish community lead Jewish organizations, oh, this worse than ever, I'd say, calm down. It's not that bad. It is changing the daily life of Jews. There is no Jewish gathering which doesn't have some form of security.
Here's more. This guy, talk about treason, arrest this guy, Sebastian Gorka, now at the antisepticism as a national security threat event.
The remarkable Neo Kissinger, who has both National Security Advisor and Secretary of State and National Archivist and a few other jobs is his title, Secretary Rubio. The poison of anti-Semitism, which has plagued mankind for centuries, has visited us now and again in this century. And it still courses through the veins of cowards in dark corners of the world. Anti-Semitism today hides behind geopolitics. Oh, I'm not an anti-Semite. I just don't like the government of Bibi Netanyahu. No, you're a Jew hater. Because there's only one.
His own government has him on trial for corruption and bribery, but this guy just talks out of his ass. Talk about somebody who needs to be arrested is Sebastian Gorka. Makes me really want to throw up. There's a ceasefire and Trump. There's peace in the Middle East, according to Trump, as reported earlier today. Aardvark forces drop a stun grenade over a Lebanese fishing boat operating in territorial waters south of Lebanon. So yeah, taking a page out of a U.S. Wacom book there. Yeah, heavy bombing in Lebanon continues today in southern Lebanon. There's video of giant bombs blowing up. U.S. officials claim Gaza stabilization force can be deployed as early as January. Again, we're still waiting for phase 1 of the peace plan there in Gaza to take effect. The International Stabilization Force will not fight Hamas. Lots of countries have expressed interest in contributing, and officials are currently working out the size of the International Stabilization Force. A 2-star U.S. general is being considered to lead the force, but no decision has been made as of yet. We'll follow this and see who they appoint to it. Hopefully it's Kushner. Thankfully it's not Tony Blair. We probably need somebody from BlackRock, right? And so we'll be very happy with the International Stabilization Force there. Gaza Ministry of Interior and National Security has reported a preliminary death toll of 14, including children and women, as a result of severe weather that has battered the Gaza Strip since Wednesday, causing partial and total collapse of homes and buildings, the remnants of their bombed out habitats there. So 14 die. Yeah, it's bad. Live in a pile of rubble and a tent, and they take that away from you, and it's like flooding going on there. It's quite horrific. Quite horrific indeed. And then finally, where are we at here? Oh, we're past the 2-hour mark. Aardvark Land approves legalization of 19 West Bank settlements. Aardvark Land Security Cabinet has approved a plan to legalize 19 Aardvark Land settlements in the occupied West Bank, following a proposal by Finance Minister Old Smotrick, according to Aardvark Land Media. The decision includes newly established sites as well as previously dismantled settlements such as Ganim and Kadim, marking what Aardvark outlets describe as a full return to settlement activity in the northern occupied West Bank. An accelerated planning process is expected to follow, further entrenching illegal settlement expansion. Well, anything for ultra-Zionism. And then I'm not going to play this today. We're going to play it sometime next week, but you can go, you're free to go watch it on your own. Somehow, some way, it's still on YouTube. Very suppressed here, but we're going to play it next week to remind everybody we've played it already once here before. The Other Aardvark Land, The Whole Zionist Conspiracy by Ted Pike from 1987. And he breaks it all down there from a long time ago, from a Christian pastor. So And it's kind of hard to find, actually. Surprised it's still on the YouTube. So we'll play that next week. I'm going to wrap up this broadcast. Thank you, everybody, for joining us this Friday. Let's go to the channels quickly here now and check out the old Odysee. I see John is there. What does he say? Our society is built on lies upon lies upon lies. TV, Hollywood, controlled media have left Americans ignorant. Indeed, John. Indeed. Indeed. All right, Gur. Look forward to you circling back. We're going to circle back and take a look at these new banks popping up on Monday and do a dive into these the economic repercussions. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in on the Odysee. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in on the Bitchute, the X, Facebook, Twitch, Kick, Rumble, and YouTube. I did see quite a few. The chat was going there well. Thank you, Chloe, Jan, Karen finally showed up. We've been missing you, Karen. Thank you for showing up today. Denver, Highland, and everybody else there in the chat. Fat Bob, of course. Again, shout out to Mac and Barry. Thank you guys all for tuning in and contributing to the show here now and keeping that chat lively. As always, everybody, do your own research, peace, love, and freedom. Speak out and take action. Have a great rest of your Friday evening and great weekend. We'll be back here on Monday for more.